This is the TV INFORM program. Good evening. Today, early in the morning, as in November of last year, on the left bank of the Dniester River, blood was spilled. We have several versions of the armed conflict between the armed police of Moldova and the guards of the Dniester region. According to the Minister of Internal Affairs of Moldova, the shooting began from the left bank of the Dniester River, and there was an attack on a police point. There was responding responding fire. Then they broke through to the city of Dubasare. This is the report we got from the city of Chisinau. Here, at the entrance to the city of Dubasare, there was a tragedy that took place. According to the information that we received from the Ministry of Security of Moldova, 5 people were killed and more than 15 were wounded by bullets. This was a shooting incident between the Moldavian police and the armed units of the Dniester region. We learned that the Dubasare police had been attacked, and we decided to save our colleagues. On the bridge, a group of persons in civilian clothing, some of them in military clothing but without insignia, tried to stop us, but we detained them. We detained them, took away their weapons, and delivered them to the police. After that, we moved on, and close to the highway police station, right here, we were met with attack by firing from machine guns. There was very intensive firing, and it was intended to kill. We have a different source of information with a different version here. Supposedly, there was an attack on the Republican Guard of the Dniester region. There were casualties, but the correspondent of TASC says that the attempt to break through to the city did not actually take place. Our link with the city is not good. We managed to get through by telephone to a member of the press. At the current time, the Republican Guard is controlling the center of Dubasare and the eastern outskirts, also to the south of Dubasare. The police of Dubasare and they are controlling the situation. They're controlling the dam, the highways. There's shooting going on near the city. There's a gradual accumulation of forces of the police forces in the area of Chisinau. The electrical workers left the dam, and energy was no longer produced. There was no attack on the armed forces, and they did not participate. The conflict might flare up at any moment if the politicians are not successful in putting a stop to it. But here, everyone saw sparks take on the nature of a frightening flame. In Chisinau, there was a law passed on the recognition of the local language, but there's a lot of Russians there who do not speak the Moldavian language. On the 2nd of November, the tragic events in Dubasare took place. The election on the 5th to the Supreme Soviet of the Republic was perhaps the occasion. The Republic said that it was seceding, that is, the Republic, the Dniester region was ceding from Moldova. Then, somewhat later, the residents of Tiraspol and Bender blockaded the railroad bridge, and 2 weeks ago, the Dniester region selected its own president, who, of course, does not recognize either the Parliament of Moldova or Mr. Snegor, who's the new president. Incidentally, he had to interrupt his trip to the other republics and hurriedly return to Moldova. Today, Mr. Yeltsin gave a speech addressed to the residents of Moldova. In his speech, he said, there can be various ideas as to how the new life should be, but it would be a tremendous tragedy if emotions were to win out, and we would lose this chance we have for a better life. We should not allow ourselves to be drawn into this quagmire of ill will. We need a lasting peace and good neighbor relations among the former convicts and prisoners of totalitarianism. We can't divide up a homeland. We can't change it. Lay aside your bitterness. Do not wound each other. Think about your common home. It's too easy to destroy it, but much later it will be very hard to build new walls on the where the ashes now stand. That is from the speech of Mr. Yeltsin, the President of the Russian Federation, addressed to the residents of Moldova. Will the events in Moldova trigger other events? This will be shown by time, but today we can say that the 5 Central Asian republics, whose leaders have met in Ashgabat, are ready to become the organizers of a new Commonwealth on an equal base, and that would. So we're switching here to Ashgabat. As of morning, the working session was going on. It lasted till 4 in the morning. The Central Asian republics and Kazakhstan have decided to support the Commonwealth formed in Minsk. The 5 sovereign republics will become co-sponsors of the Commonwealth. Uzbekistan is being supportive and will be a member of the Commonwealth, but a final decision will occur only after the 29th of December, after the presidential elections of Uzbekistan. So as to confirm this Commonwealth, the leaders of the Ashgabat meeting signed a agreement here between Kyrgyzstan and Kazakhstan for 92. The presidents agreed to meet again in Alma-Ata to work out their positions in detail. The latest information that we have is that this might take place on the 21st of December. The President of the USSR, Mr. Gorbachev, is pleased with the results of the meeting in Central Asia. That was according to Mr. Gorbachev. The President noted that the questions discussed relating to the future of our country were representative in nature and took place between all the heirs of the former Union. Today was a telephone conversation between Yeltsin and Gorbachev and Kravchuk after Kravchuk declared he was the commander-in-chief of the armed forces in the Ukraine. Mr. Gorbachev noted that in the decision of Mr. Kravchuk, he did not see elements which might touch upon anything other than the transitional period. That further action, he said, would take place on a coordinated basis, and there would be joint defense. So what is the position of the Ukraine? One of the first practical steps in confirming the true independence of Ukraine was the decree of Mr. Kravchuk, the president of Ukraine, with regard to the armed forces of Ukraine, among other things, where he spoke about resubordination of the armed forces located on the territory of the Republic, their subordination to the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense. Konstantin Petrovich, how would you interpret this fact? The president of Ukraine, Leonid Kravchuk, adopted a decision, and in so doing, he realized the consistent work of the Republic with regard to establishing its own forces. This is appropriate to the situation. This concludes a stage of the legal work in creating our own armed forces. It has been dictated by the desire to ensure a legal basis for our military personnel, and with regard to military units stationed on our territory. This will all be done on a legal basis, on the basis of agreements with the General Staff, with the Minister of Defense of the USSR, Marshal Shaposhnikov, with participation of representatives from his office, and with representatives from the General Staff and from the military regions. We have two levels of troops in Ukraine: strategic forces and forces which ensure their functioning. These are support troops. They will be subordinated to a unified command. The command structures will be created by a special agreement of the presidents of the Commonwealth. Can we now consider that the hand of Leonid Kravchuk will be resting next to the nuclear button? Strategic forces will be done on a unified basis within a body which will be created by the presidents of the states. The presidents will participate in consultations and will have conference calls. Konstantin Petrovich, can all countries